I would like to thank Affinity for MTG for replying to my comments on their video about the Golgari Swarm Challenger deck, where I had asked about possibly putting Massacre Girl into the deck and seeing if it would work. I knew that it was useful sometimes. I said that I had gone and played Standard and that it went really well. I took two of the Eldest Reborns out and put in two Massacre Girls, and then Rafy or Rafy or Rafy. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I do not know how to say your name. But he had asked me to basically divulge into more of what I had changed. And I said I'd make a video about it, even though I suck at making videos. And, I have to do this with my phone in the basement. So that's okay, though. I'm glad to help. Just so you know, this was my first time playing Standard ever. So um, I won two, lost two at my store. I had the choice of two booster packs or $6. I chose half and half, one pack, and $3. Just to give you an idea of how I did. Getting straight into it, these are the cards that I took out. Obviously, two of the Eldest Reborn went into putting two Massacre Girls in. One of the Eldest Reborn went to putting a card called Finale of Eternity in. I will talk about what they all do here in a minute. Two Golden Demises out of the sideboard to get Ritual of Soot and Cry of the Carnarium. And then I also put in Vivian's Arcbow for Playcrafter. I do apologize if you can hear anyone upstairs. Like I said, I am doing this in the basement. I would also like to note that these lands that came with it are all the same. Literally, it's the 23 lands that come with it. I did not change them at all. However, I did change the art. I like all my art lands to be uniform. All right, getting into why I changed things that I did. We'll start with Playcrafter and Vivian's Arcbow, and then we will move to one of the Eldest Reborns that I took out for the Finale of Eternity. So, Playcrafter, as Affinity for MTG said, whatever. It's a card, I guess. Vivian's Arcbow, on the other hand, 2-drop, 1 green, 1 anything. And then it is a legendary artifact that you pay into, tap, and then discard a card. You look at the top, however many cards worth that you pay in mana of your library. So, like, if I pay 5, tap this, discard a card, I look at the top 5 cards in my library, put a creature card onto the battlefield that costs 5 or less mana, and put the rest on my bottom of my library in a random order. I did find this very useful a couple of times. As for Finale of Eternity, destroy up to 3 target creatures with toughness X or less. It's a 2-drop black, and then you pay into it as well. If X is 10 or more, which it never got to be 10 or more for me, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So I guess it could be useful if you hold on to it long enough. I did ask my shop to find me 2 more Jade Light Rangers, so I expect that these Jade Light Rangers will be in the deck. The other 2 that Affinity for MTG had mentioned. Probably switch out one of the Golgari Find Brokers and probably a Find Finality. Just because I did not find that Finality, little play on words there, haha, it was very useful. The Duress. Why did I want to talk about the Duress? I don't know why I want to talk about the Duress. I don't really like the Duress, to be honest. I was looking for more of a Toll the Invasion card, something along the lines of just saying non-land instead of non-creature. There was a lot of creatures that I would like to have bounced back into my opponent's graveyard, or into my opponent's deck at least to buy time. Massacre Girl, Game 3, Massacre Girl for me My third matchup, oh my. We're going to talk about that. Um, Left the Roska in there, left the District Guides in there, left the Fine Finalities in there. I'm probably going to change some of that stuff as well. Sideboard, only thing that changed, Massacre Girl got put in. Um, Golden Demise, Cry Carnarium, Ritual of Soot. 1, 2, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. For some reason, I thought I had 16 sideboard cards. I apologize. Like I said, those again are the ones that I took out. And then over there is a Vivian Reed, something that Affinity had talked about, as well as a Nissa and Steel Leaf Champion, which I think could be put in somehow. I'm still working on that with my tiny little rat brain. Getting into it, that is not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. These 3 cards pertain to my 3 games that I played. I played 4. I do not count the second one. I played a 9-year-old that had a straight red burn deck that his father had made him. And needless to say, I was going to game 3 either way. So unfortunately, he attacked straight at me instead of my cards. But he actually did get me down to 7 health in our second game. So I got to give it to the 9-year-old, man. I mean, he did great. He took it like a champ, man. Anyways, getting into it. First game that I played, I lost 2-0. This guy was running a Nexus Fate and Wilderness Reclamation, right? If you notice, the Nexus Fates has taken extra turn after this one. If it would be put into a graveyard, reveal it and shuffle it into its owner's library. Graveyard from anywhere. If for any reason that this card would be put into somebody's library, into their graveyard, it just goes back into their library. I believe the guy had 3 of these. We're going to talk about that a lot. The wording of this and the wording of Wilderness Reclamation, oh my, it's a big oof. Basically, all Wilderness Reclamation is, it's a green enchantment that at the beginning of your end step or something, it's something along those lines, at the beginning of your end step or whatever, you untap all lands. And he had 3 of those as well at one point. So what he would do is he would Nexus Fate, right? You would have this in his hand. He had cards like Opt that let you scry, draw, things that basically let him search his library a lot. He'd play 3 or 2 or even 1 Wilderness Reclamations, right? He would untap all those lands and then use cards to find Nexus Fate. Infinite turns. I didn't lose, so to say, so much as both games I conceded because he was basically looking for Nexus of Fate, getting enough mana, and then he was going to play a flying card that was his win condition that I had nothing. Like, he was going to take infinite turns, is all I'm saying. He was going to take infinite turns. He was going to keep swinging at me. It would never be my turn for me to do anything about it. And nothing that I have that I believe, I don't think I had any options unless I drew like perfect and killed him in like 4 turns, which wasn't happening. I feel like, I believe it's Callous Dismissal, even though we're not playing in blue. Callous Dismissal, I believe if I counter it, it goes to exile instead of graveyard, so I guess you could just get rid of them, but that's not the point of our green-black deck, so I feel a little screwed on that one, I'm not going to lie. Game 2, like I said, I played a 9-year-old, he had a burn deck, kept swinging at me instead of my creatures, so he did lose, so I'm not going to talk about that one. Third game, Gruul Spellbreaker. Guy was playing a Gruul deck. Rhythm of the Wild, Cruel Spellbreaker, things along those lines. For that game, I did have Reclamation Sages, I believe. Those are the ones that can destroy target enchantment or whatever. I believe I only ever got to use them once to destroy Rhythm of the Wilds. Um, the first game that I played against the guy that had the Gruul Spellbreaker, I lost. And then the next two I won, mostly because he was playing Gruul Spellbreakers and he had a Tali in his deck. A Tali is a 6-drop red card that whenever a Tali declares an attack, like at me, right? Or like one of my planeswalkers or whatever, you take the top card of my deck and the top card of whoever's got the Atali, right? Assuming that I'm their opponent. He takes both of the top cards of our decks, and then as long as it's a non-land, he's allowed to play both of those cards completely free. So say that I've got a Vraska as the top card of my deck, and he's got, I don't know, let's say Nico Bolas, right? He draws both of those. Okay, you can just have that, I guess. That's just yours now. And it's a 6/6, so imagine having one of those on the field and you're getting ready to set up to do something and you need one card, and then he steals that card from you turn after turn after turn. Yeah. Luckily, I drew a Chupacabra, destroyed it. I got lucky and won my third game. So these Gruul Spellbreakers, he was basically using Rhythm of the Wilds to give everything Riot, which is a choice of haste, which means that the turn it enters the battlefield it can attack, or +1/+1 counters, so it is easier to defend or attack. Things like that. Also, a good thing about this card for him, he had a bunch of, I think he had 4 of these in his deck. It has Trample, and it's a 3/3. And it also has, as long as it's his turn, him and the Spellbreaker cards have Hexproof, right? Hexproof means that I believe no abilities or spells can target this card or him. So, moving on to game 4, we're going to talk about this Raise Boar. Let me tell you about this little puppy right here, right? So, first of all, I was playing another Gruul deck. I was playing my friend, which he whooped me, right? He was playing this thing like turn 3. And it's a 6/6 with Trample, right? Whenever it attacks, you can just slap whatever card you want that's a creature out of your hand, attacking with it. And then you just put it back in your hand after you're done attacking, assuming it doesn't die, sorry. And then it has this neat little ability, right? This Raise Boar is like the God Eternal cards. When it dies or is put into exile, you just put it into your library 3 from the top. So, yeah. I got screwed in the butt by this card because I don't know if you remember or not, but we don't have anything that removes things from the game exactly. So, what do? Literally, what he did both times is he swung, and then he pulled out a Pakala Worm, swinging with it, and I had nothing. It was like turn 3, dude. I was not ready. I was not ready, dude. It's like game 1. You see that Nexus of Fate and that Wilderness Reclamation, you're like, what the hell? You're like, dude, what do I do? So, I mean, I hope that helps. Thanks again to Rafe or Rafy, sorry, or Rafy, or whatever your name is. I hope this helps. I'm also sorry for the background, Matt being a Pokemon Matt. It's all I had to use. So, yeah, if you have any more questions, go ahead and leave a comment on this. I'll try to answer them the best that I can. Just know I'm 18. This is the first time that I've played Standard. So, however, I do play casual with my friends, and I have a lot of cards, especially from my dad and stuff. So, I hope this helped. See you later.